What's up, guys? Pete Clarke here for Run It Once, playing poker on the very site, Run It Once Poker. And this is going to be a video where I frantically demo the software for tabling 20NL. So the interesting thing about this system is you can use your image, loose aggressive, for example, to just basically, I don't know, maybe people think that you're a bit looser than normal based on that over a small sample. Because there's a visual representation of it, I would expect from a psychological level that this would have a bigger effect on people than HUD numbers would, because you're showing them an enraged guy in a suit who looks kind of annoying. You know, if this guy was attacking my blind, I would be certainly like, my animal brain would be wanting to defend a lot here. There's a lot of dead money in here in this splash pot. I think fold equity is quite low, so we're just going to peel the 10-8 here and go from there. Ace 10, we are going to open because why not? Generate some action for the video, really close hand anyway. Flop second pair in this gigantor 2-bet pot. You have a 2-bet pot at 20NL, it's already 436. So this rake system is really cool. I really like it. I think it generates an absolute heap of action. This is not a splash pot. The 260 raise here is fairly small given the context, but we don't have a hand that we can continue to Addison D's 3-bet here. And we will be appearing as like Horace F or something like that as well. We will have a weird random name. I wonder if the first names ever get repeated, or do we just have a massive bank of them? I'm going to fold here multi-way to the c-bet and call with the 10-8 in the splash pot. Can't win all the splash pots, or any of them so far. So I might just start min-opening the cutoff here instead of 3xing. It's definitely a better sizing in a reggae game. Darryl K. I was going to say that's the same guy from the other table with the same avatar, but of course it's not. We don't know if we're playing against the same opponent on multiple tables or not. But it's weird. Like, I know that that's just a random person, but my brain is like, that's a woman when I look at that. I can't like shake the image. And I'm like, she'll be X, Y, and Z reads I have on women, right? How sexist. But it's kind of strange how the site makes a visual impression on your mind. I might bet 3/4 with this hand on this texture. Bet quite a lot of hands for the sizing, actually. I'll probably check raise the 8-7-4 and just try and build my loose aggressive images. That's going to be my mission for today. Going to overbet this turn, pick up a ton of equity. And we have a ton of fold equity here. Probably a better play to make as a bluff than it is for value in an under defended situation such as this. Filling calls, I'm going to use on this river, generally speaking, just really big bets, but maybe not overbets, since they kind of improve to some nutted combos. I think this is pretty reasonable. I think overbetting there would be fine as well. They go all in. We're not folding the king high flush. There's worse flushes. We lose the ace high flush. Okay. We might well bust to a roll today. Come on, where's the instructor run good at, guys? Like, I'm down about 4 buy-ins already, and I've been playing about 20 minutes here or something, setting up the video. That's okay, though. We can deal with it. Nines, we can go either way. We can not fold, but I will time down multiple times here because I'm trying to get used to the software, so be warned. That was a pretty harsh hand running into the nut flush there. Sometimes people go crazy there with just a blocker. Like, I see people just shove like random hands containing the ace of diamonds there quite a lot. Obviously, we're not folding the king high flush, but yeah, that's your vanilla kind of cooler, really, isn't it? It's okay. We just need like a 6 buy-in splashed pot to get our money back. So good. So yeah, I'm gonna see if there's any real difference between these top 2 tables where I'm running the maniac-looking guy and these bottom 2 ones where I'm running the net persona, and how people are reacting to me. I do predict, like I say, that people are going to be a little bit more inclined to spewing stuff against you because of the visual representation. I think it's a really interesting way of building like poker psychology or human psychology into online poker a little bit more. So Christian I goes ahead and makes a min 4-bet here. That's probably enough for him to get a blue tag. Blue tag meaning weaker player. And here we have a splash pot with 6-4 under the gun. It's kind of a double-edged sword because people are going to fight for these a lot more, obviously, than they would normally. But also, we're incentivized to fight for them also. So we need to be cognizant of the fact that our opponents also know that it's a splash pot, and there's still 5 of them in there. So this sizing here shouldn't achieve much. Like, it's correct for these players to call all kinds of hands in this situation. So this small raise by, I think that might be a weaker player actually doing that. It's just a very, very tiny raise. Even this is a really small 3-bet. given the context of the extra dead money being in there. I guess it's reasonable though. It's a splash pot with a 7, loose aggressive, loose passive, tight aggressive. Probably a little bit too loose to go after this from the hijack. I say everyone is aware that it's a splash pot and should be defending wider as a result. So these do create really interesting dynamics, and I think that one of the things that does separate having a bigger edge or a smaller edge in these games is how you handle splash pots and your understanding of EV with lots of dead money in the pot. To put it simply, when the pot is even splashed by something like 60 cents, it creates a situation where if you raise to a normal size, people are getting like multi-way pot odds in a heads-up pot where their equity is 2 to 3 times as much. So needless to say, like any 2 cards there become a call against normal sizing, big blind against button and things like that. And the 5s, I think we're going to mine because we're a little bit deeper with Barry and we have the read that people are just going a little bit insane. So it's going to be good to flop sets. So other than the splash pot mechanic and the player profile mechanic, there's not a great deal different from a normal 6-max game. These are the 2 things that I find most intriguing and I'm going to talk about whenever possible in this video. Kind of men open from earlier position in what I think is a stronger pool. 5s I will call flop full turn. Fairly standard to call all pairs in position there to the small bet. The small bet there's not really going to be something you should get away with at that higher frequency when I cold call button versus cutoff. Reason being my range is just a bit stronger. I have some recreationals in this table, so I think sizing up a bit and opening this hand is going to be fine. I'm going to open the queen 10 under the gun at just a small sizing. I'm going to request my 5 buy-ins back from run at once, please. I don't know if that's actually how much I've lost, but I've been coolered about 4 times so far. It's been fun. I did also run like a completely crazy bluff against Brian K earlier on, which is why he has that stack. Not a crazy bluff, just a kind of big bluff in a big pot that didn't work. So crazy is probably the wrong word. Queen 10 here, we get flatted by button. We can definitely do some betting in this situation. And I guess we want to fold that 3-bet anyway, so we're okay timing down. We want to do some betting here, but not a great deal with really low equity hands. Button cold caller. It's going to have a slightly stronger range than we would expect from the big blind. So we're going to protect ourselves there with a higher checking frequency. I think on this turn, it's maybe reasonable just to make this kind of bet in a vacuum here. I don't know if this player's a reg or not, because it's a kind of face-up unbalanced play, but it should be fine. I think we're targeting things like 9-8, pocket 8, 7-6, this kind of region, pocket 6s. King River, I can probably just go ahead and bluff catch. I don't really see how this river improves his hand at all, unless he has like I don't really see many King X in the button cold call range. If he's a reg, his sizing looks reggy. I think we're going to see a lot of 7X, 9X and stuff being turned into a bluff here, probably. Yep, that's what I expected to see. It's just quite hard to, if you are a reg who fancies himself as someone who likes to turn hands into bluffs, it becomes a little bit too much too soon in that spot, because the king is a really brickish river for your range if you think about the fact you've cold called button and then continued turn. So yeah, men open here, just flat 5s. Like I say, it's good to have sets in games where people don't fold and we have a weaker player behind us. And we do flop said set. And we've gone from from maniac aggressive to just tight aggressive. So as you'd expect, stats kind of converging now over 60 hands. So what you want to get good at is scanning people, but also being aware of the hand samples. So a really good way to use this HUD, instead of just looking at the picture, is to gloss over it here. So 53 hands loose aggressive is a lot better than, or 61 hands tight aggressive is a lot better than like 26 hands, obviously. So I think that's key, is going around and just scanning people like that with the mouse as well. I'm going to just be calling the 5s here, not really building a raising range in this spot with the player behind me to protect my range a little bit and want the other player to come along as well. This is definitely a spot where Wilson H can apply quite a lot of pressure to my range, which contains a lot of hands like 6s, 9s, 7, 8, things of this nature basically. He checks behind. I struggle here to actually have too many combos of air when I've called here, so to bluff enough I have to get a little bit creative. I think my options are check raise, or I think I'm just going to check raise. I think leading here is just a little bit, it's difficult to get paid off too frequently. I might induce some bluffs, and if he does have a jack or something, it's likely to value bet anyway. I think most hands are going to call a bet are going to try and value bet river most of the time there. So I think check raise is going to be good for that reason. Can open this with a weaker player here. Do I get to see what he had? Ace king, so probably not getting much more action there anyway, whatever we do. Very, very, very often bet this hand, hardly ever check it, especially with the backdoor. I mean, on ace 5 deuce, a 5 is generally just a bet anyway. If you're going to check a pair, check tens or kings or something like that. Seth is loose aggressive over 16 hands. That could mean, I guess that means he's just playing like a normal sort of regular. I'm going to go ahead and 4-bet here. I made that too small because I was like kind of timing down, but it worked anyway. Let's check. And turn, we probably have a check here, but I don't think it's terrible to do this and just make some protection bets with extremely vulnerable hands. Here we have kings in a splash pot, and it's gone raise, 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 big raise. And what do we want to do here? Do we want to just call and slow play and invite people in, or do we want to just like jam our time bank anyway? Yeah, do I get my time bank? I don't know. I'm just shoving. I'm scared I'm not getting my time bank here. Kings again. Okay. The shove is probably not optimal, but I was afraid that the time bank only worked post flop or something. I just don't know for sure. And if he has like ace, king, jacks, queens, aces, he just calls off here anyways, which is fine. I think this shove's reasonable. It's quite hard to like, I don't really want to play a 5-way pot. It's the thing. It's so splashed as well that if I do call, we're probably going to get more action than we want a lot of the time. It's kind of close though. This is the low variance route for sure. I can't really make another 4-bet. I don't really have room. Maybe not the best line. I bet super small here with these kings. Slightly smaller than normal. We crush everything. I mean, it's kind of exploitative and unbalanced, but let's face it, no one really knows what we're doing, so it should be fine. Yeah, interesting spot with the big splash and then the squeeze there from Barry. Like, we do block a lot of his ace king, which is some of the stuff we're targeting. But if he has like 10 jacks, queens, I think we're just felting there most of the time. So it should be okay. The problem is kings are like a little bit vulnerable. So if we just flat there and we pick up another couple of callers, like our equity is gonna be quite heavily diminished, and people are not going to want to stack off too many 1-pair hands in a 4-way pot anyway. So I think the shove's okay, but it's quite hard to find a high EV alternative there. I can make a small 4-bet, but at that point, you know, I'd be making it like almost like 40 BBs or something with the splash. So it's just kind of gets ridiculous when there's already, what did he make it, like $4? There's already like 20 big blinds in there. Yeah, I think shove is just kind of normal there. I'm going to like compare this to a normal game where someone's called 4-bet, and what would my reaction be over it? I guess it would be like shove or fold probably. Kind of weird. Very bizarre. Jack 3 here, close spot, but I think we can just not defend this hand. Have Marlene tagged as a weaker player, so open the king. We'll be opening the king 10 anyway, obviously. Ace Jack suited against Seth, who is so far very loose aggressive. I don't really want to read into that too much, as it's only 20 hands. But when I think, I don't quite know the parameters for this, but when I see a loose aggressive opponent like who's like someone I'd say is like an aggro recreational or something like that, on a more normal tracking system like a HUD, then I'm just making loads of cold calls today just because I think it's great to have sets in this environment. People are going a bit wild. I'm going to just size up here, 3/4 should be fine. I'm going to size up here as well, bet a lot of bigger bets against Ted A here in 5-5-6. Like, I imagine this would be the same as like 40, like the loose aggressive guy would be like being 40-30 or something like that, probably. I check back the ace turn, very bad turn for my hand. Decent turn for my range. What's happening here? We're on the button. Oh, we cold called. Okay, we'll just make a standard bet size that we would make with lots of overstabbing bluffs and stuff as well. That's fine. He calls king turn. Could be great if he has like ace king, king queen kind of floats. Guy bets $1 here. Like, we do block. We probably have to call here in game theory with the eights, but we're not really loving it. I expect the spot to be under bluffed a little bit. Oh, same hand. Okay. Interesting. I'm going to overbet here. Just mega polarize myself. If he is connected with the king, he's probably continuing. People overfold this turn anyway. Raises. I will shove. Don't think this is ever really a bluff, ever. I think it's just a hand that's stacking off most of the time. Okay, set over set, get cooler back our way, nice.